Okay. So, hello, people of the internet. My name is Ian Altosaar, and I'm sitting here with one of my favorite people in the world, Joe Greenland. And tonight or today, we're talking about energy healing, psychic phenomena, and those connections we have to the other worlds. And Joe is an energy healer, a psychic. He's a very, I would say, a connected man in a lot of ways to other realities. And I've been enjoying his company for a while now, and I've been learning a lot from him. And just maybe to start this off, Joe, maybe you can share a little bit, about your path in life and how you arrived and then started discovering these gifts you have.
Basically, I grew up in the Arctic in a small community of Klavik. It's partly Gwich'in, partly Eskimo and Indian, and there was a bit of white people with the police force and nurses and preachers and others, but mostly native community. It's like I say, most of my relatives are either part Eskimo or Indian, and I got a lot of relatives who are Scandinavian and stuff. When I was born and a small boy, my grandfather raised me up, and uh, while I was young, I was able to see and just be aware of things, and he was aware of that too. He had an ability to see in that, and he didn't go by shaman or medicine man or anything. He was just a quiet old person. And a lot of times he would use stories to teach me. It was always telling me stories and things to help me to look at things, or he would sometimes send me to people to sit with them, and whatever it was, he had talked to the older people. They knew I was coming, so they'd be prepared, and I would go there. And a lot of times he would give me questions to ask these older people. And so I would sit there and they would tell me stories. Sometimes they would drum or sing or do things. And I didn't understand the concept of TV. We didn't get TV in my community until I think 1974 or somewhere, when they put Sputnik or whatever it was up in the
Mm.
sky. And we started getting black and white TV. So while I would sit with these old people, things would start to open up and I would see and hear stuff. And as a child, I was very curious. And when this would go on, it would really excite me. So I would watch and hear whatever was going on. And being with these people, I felt safe, knowing that my granddad sent me there, and whatever was going on, there was a reason for it. And so I would hear things and stuff like that. Later, I would go back home and I would sit with my grandfather and he would ask me about it. So I'd explain some of the things that I would see.
Mm.
And in his awareness or knowledge, and that, whether he was seeing in my mind or whether there was a guide around him or spirit, they would see the things I was saying and if it was correct or not. And he would try to help me sometimes interpret or try to remember or recall things. And it just sort of, between me and him, it just sort of was natural. And I enjoyed sitting with him because he had a lot of stories. He would tell me all kinds of stories, and I really loved that. My cousin, who grew up, he's a month older than me. We both grew up with my granddad, and we're like brothers. And he had no desires, no interest in any of it. He just wanted to go out and do his thing. And he couldn't understand why I would spend sometimes hours and hours just sitting with my granddad or with these elders. And he didn't realize that they were helping me with the spiritual stuff. As I grew up, my granddad always tried to tell me not to say too much to people because people were scared of me, because I didn't understand how. I just saw things. And if I saw something, I thought maybe somehow I could help that person by telling them and maybe helping them to change it. And the more I did that, the more people got scared of me. And I was the only blue-eyed little kid in my community, native at the time. And so I sort of stood out all the time. But I always felt energy. I was always conscious. I was always sensing things, and I would pick up stuff. My mother couldn't quite understand me because a lot of times I would point at people and say things, and it would anger her and sometimes scare her because
Mm.
the things I said would come true. And a lot of people feared me. Some people called me the devil and all kinds of stuff because they were scared of me. Uh,
I'm just curious to ask in between, like, um, how do you do it now? I know it must have been like a difficult experience for a young child, but how do you decide now what to share with a person and what to share with a human? Maybe sometimes it's, lot of difficult stuff can come up there as well.
the thing is somewhere inside you have to believe in whatever it is you're doing, and it's the biggest challenge we all have on this planet is to go inside and really believe what we are hearing, what we are seeing. Can we really trust it? Is it the right thing to give to the person? First thing I always do in my mind is I don't want to scare anybody. I don't want to have them create all kinds of stories and get afraid and start running down a path or going in different directions. So my intention is try to give them as much information they can. So whatever they research and whatever they're doing, it's going to give them more confidence, more that belief inside that they can open up bigger and feel safe. And finding the right teachers, finding lots of different things, because I spent a lot of my time going to elders and ceremonies and going to Buddhism and different churches and reading and studying so many things. And it can get very, very confusing. So inside me, there's an energy. It's something that proves itself out. It doesn't have any intention of lying or deceiving. There's a lot of people understand the inner eye where you can see things. So there's an energy that's attached there. And a lot of times I question it. I'll question it 2, 3 times.
Mm.
Sometimes I'm shown something and I'm like, I'm really not sure if this is what needs to come through. I'll ask to push it aside and I'll keep doing things and then it'll come back and I look at it. After the third time or so, I will bring it up and I will say something about it. Sometimes there's a story attached to it. Stories are really good because the story imprints something in the person's mind. Somehow it helps them to hold on because they'll go back over the story. And if they really listen, because that's what I find in this world now is people don't listen. People are so aware of knowledge and all kinds of stuff, whether it's Reiki or different ceremonies. There's, like I say, there's many, many kinds on this planet, and it's easy to get into and it opens you up. And once that happens, people go into this fear of everybody's going to lie to them, everybody's going to deceive them. So instead of going, well, I'm going to find this person and I'm going to sit with this person, and I trust that whatever they're doing is going to be correct for me. So I'm just going to listen. That's all I'm going to do is just listen. So whatever they're telling me, it's going to go in my mind. Once it's in my mind, I'm going to take that knowledge and I'm going to find a way to investigate it. And if there's something in my life there, then I'm going to go and search it out and I'm going to discover what this answer and it's going to help change my life. So when I'm doing things, I always ask the universe how to give me the best information that's going to make it easy for the person to go forwards. And everybody is on a different growth plane, a different evolution from many, many other lifetimes. Some of them mastered things in other lifetimes. Some of them are just starting to learn now. So everybody needs information at a different point. And the more effort they put into it and the more desires they have to listen and really read and study, and that takes them inside. It brings you inside and it opens you up to feel and know these things. And people ask for angels, people ask for a lot of different things. I didn't really understand this. I just sort of did things and they would just happen. And I'd be like, okay, I don't understand this, but I'm curious. So I would go with it and it would open things for me. And the more I did it, the more further I would go. And people didn't know I was doing this by myself in my mind. If I didn't understand, I would go to my granddad, or I try to go to other people that maybe had some answers. Other than that, I had to trust myself. I think a lot of people who are spiritual and are born on this planet, they have that inner knowing from childhood. And they really, really trust it as a child, but something goes on and they shut it off and they push it aside. And then all of a sudden they get caught up in the world. Hormones come along, girlfriends, boyfriends, life, whatever goes on. And they sort of put that little knowledge or voice or something inside side and they forget about it and they just sort of go with their human mind, because basically we're here to explore human reality. And then there's the little voices that try to give us answers and help us to not get caught up or stuck in a lot of things. So it's trying to find those things inside yourself because you already have it. You already somehow in your life you open and close those things. So the biggest part is learning how to trust yourself. Okay, one of my things is I don't want people to deceive me or do something that may be harmful or some kind of thing like that. So I try to do as much as I can to help the person in the best way I can. And if I can't do it at this moment, maybe later on the universe will give me the answer so I can give them more and open up in a bigger way to provide them that answer. And like I say, it's all the belief that you carry inside, because there's something very sacred that we have in us that tries to pull us in different directions to help us to open up and discover things. It was like not too long ago, me and Cindy were going to visit her family, and somebody that they knew had a breakdown, and so they asked if we could pick the person up and take them with us to where we were heading, and we said sure. So the person got in the car, and Cindy is like, I'm not really sure, like what it's going to be like. I'm like, just let everything happen. Whatever needs to come in, and just trust and let it happen. And the person got in the vehicle and he's riding with us, and I brought up auric fields, and he asked a little bit about it, and then he says, yeah, all my life I've saw people's energy. I see this glowing energy around people, and it's just something that was always there since I was a little child. And he didn't know that not everybody is this way. So he just assumed everybody on the planet can just see this energy glowing around people and all kinds of stuff going on. So he went through life never ever telling anybody this. He just kept it inside, believing that everybody sees this.
Yeah.
And I'm telling him that no, this is something very special you were born with, and not everybody is like this. And it's actually a language. It's an energy frequency. And that energy cannot lie. The auric field is something very beautiful. It's a very pure energy, and it's not something that can really be manipulated. So whatever you're born in this world, you give off certain energies. The more spiritual you are, the higher the energy, and it just radiates off you. So these kinds of things, a person, if they found certain kinds of books and they read up on it, they would start understanding the language. Why a person has a certain really dominant energy gives a certain kind of knowledge about them. If the person is really negative or angry or deceitful, that's all shown in the auric field. The auric field can't lie, because whatever that person is generating out, that's what's in the energy fields. And there are people that can see these kinds of things, and there's ways of shifting and doing things. So for me, it's one of the biggest things inside myself is trying to be honest and do the best I can for each individual. Sometimes I'm given information, but if that person is not ready for it, they're still growing. There's still things they need to discover. There's still things that are coming on their path. What I found in the past too that would sometimes frustrate me is I seen people go to psychics,
Mm.
and the psychic doesn't know what the timeline is, and they're seeing something and they're telling this person, oh, you're going to create a business, you're going to have a home, you're going to be doing all this stuff, but the person doesn't understand this, that it might be 25 years in their future. So the psychic says this, and they go around and they tell everybody this, and you see them year after year after year saying the same thing, doing the same thing, and they're not investigating the spirituality. They're not investigating and growing spiritually to create and manifest and do all these things. They're just going around telling people this, just believing somehow they're just going to wake up and they're going to have this spiritual center and all this magic is going to happen. And I'm like, maybe you need to work at this. Maybe you need to find answers and seek out teachers and go places, like go to a Sundance or go to a sweat lodge and sit in there and see what you're going to learn and grow and what you can take from there to teach other people. Maybe an elder will teach you how to run a sweat lodge so people can come to you and you can use a sweat lodge as a healing tool to connect people. There's a lot of stories, there's a lot of knowledge connected to that. Maybe you're going to Sundance for a few years, and through that, you're going to connect to something that's going to open you up bigger, and you're going to start understanding and using that as a tool. There's many kinds of tools, and all over this world there is spiritual knowledge. It all came from the universe. It was always brought to somebody, and then it evolved, and then at some point it got distorted in different ways and it got changed. So it always comes back to your own belief. What is it you really believe inside yourself? A lot of us, we have empathic feelings and emotions to want to help people. Some of us are too empathic. We're trying to save the world. We're trying to take on other people's hardships and sacrificing ourselves. Spiritual healers, they learn knowledge. They don't sacrifice. They don't take on things. They look at a problem and they try to find answers, some way to solve it. Most people have their own answers inside. They just don't put it into motion, or they just run it through their minds. Like when I used to sit in healing circles with some of the elders, and we'd sit around in a circle, and the elders would be here and they'd have their little altar with their medicines and their pipes and all their different things in front of them. And all the men would be on this side, and then all the women would be on the other side. And we always started, uh, like going around the circle. And we'd always do the men first, and then the woman would be after. And in the healing circle is basically you talk out your difficulties, you share whatever your problem is, because somebody there may have an answer, or somehow you might find something or let go of something that's a problem in your life. And I really loved the healing circles. I went all the time, and I was always Muskapios. In the Cree language, when you say Muskapios, is you're servant to everybody and you're a servant to God. And a lot of the elders would say, oh, Jesus, he was Muskapios. Buddha, he was Muskapios. And you would look at their stories and how they served and how they did things. And they did everything for everybody. And they would channel messages through, and they would do things. And however it was, it would bring change into people's lives, and people would seek them out and search for them. So I thought, and I really like the word Muskapios, and I would go, and whatever the elders need, I would do in the ceremony and help people. I would go with them to go pick medicines or go to the sweat lodge, wherever they needed. I was always there trying to help. And I would do a lot of prayers, and one of the things is always smudging. We would smudge really lots, like how I like to smudge, and send smoke into the universe and through the computers to whoever's home this is going to go to, that some spirit or angel will come in and bring them an answer or help them to understand and connect something. Again, I'm asking the creator to come in and the earth mother, because we live on her and she has the knowledge of the future. She has knowledge to support us, and she has the plants and all the things that can heal our bodies, and she knows what the future is and all kinds of stuff. So always invite her in, and then we invite the earth mother's children. We always say the four-leg, two-leg, the winged ones, furry ones, feathered ones, the standing people, the rock people, the water people. And we go through all these different things because it's part of creation, and we're all a part of this. And then we always say in the East, there are worlds and spirit guides and teachers and angels and angelic beings that if you were to travel straight out east as far as keep going, you'll come across many galaxies and worlds where there's evolved beings, and some of them are very enlightened and loving. So we invite that into our day, and that's the beginning of the day in the morning when the sun comes up. Then in the afternoon in the south, when the sun is really high, like in the summer, where there's heat and things are growing and evolving. So we invite the spirits from the south. So we also ask the spirits of the south to come in and bring in their blessings for the day and to fill our homes and the abundance and the good things. Then we always ask in the west when the sun is going down and it's the beginning of the evening. We say the bear in the fall time goes into the cave getting ready to hibernate, but we also harvest. We bring in all the food and it fills our homes and it helps us to be nourished and healthy through the winter. So we invite those spirits from that we're in. Then we invite the north, and in the north they say is the ancient ones. And so you can go out as far as you can in the universe and you're going to come across beings. And so we ask them to come in and bring wisdom and teaching and love, protection and knowledge, whatever is there. That's the biggest beautiful thing to fill our homes and all come together and bless our whole day. And I always ask the sky people, the star people, whoever they're out there, to also participate in the day. And then they say inside the earth there are sacred places, and there's even worlds, cities inside the earth, very, very ancient beings, and they really love us. They are part of our system of this planet and ask for their help. And you don't know where this help is going to come from. But if you really believe in it, something is going to come in. Something is going to bring really, really amazing change. You're going to connect. It's going to guide you places. It's going to teach you how to rely on that inner awareness and to see and believe what the universe is showing you, because you have to believe in it. The creator is going to give you whatever you're praying and asking for. But if you're not believing in it and you figure, well, this person over here is the one that if I tell them and if they believe in it, then I can believe in it. And it doesn't really work that way. I mean, we all have experiences. I have my life every day. I walk, I live, I breathe. I'm inside my body. I'm with my partner, Cindy. She walks every day. She lives and she breathes, but she's inside her body. And we are together, but yet we at times have different experiences. So she has different things going on in with the universe and her life and other things. And I have mine, but there's times where we come together and we both see and connect the same things. And we support one another. But ever since I've met her, I always told her, I says, you have to realize you got to take your light to the highest place. And I've always tried to do that. I've always read, I've always searched, I've always studied as best I can and read. Even when people would try to make me doubt what I was doing, I would carry on trying to find that answer, because I believe each one of us are here to bring our energy or our soul or our light to the highest point we're meant to. And we're only going to do it because whatever we wanted to do in this lifetime, we're going to go to that place. Some people will go higher for whatever other reasons. There's many, many things. And for each person is, if you really believe in it, the creator will manifest and make it real. And so that belief inside is really what moves you forwards. And you have to learn to be confident in it, because you're going to find lots and lots of challenges. You're going to meet people that have a lot more knowledge in different things, but that shouldn't intimidate you. That shouldn't discourage you. You should go deeper into your belief and go, well, I can learn that too. I can be just the same as you can be. I can be the same as anybody else. If I really desire it, I can become that. And that's what I love about little children, because when you're watching them, they don't understand all of this. They just know whatever they believe will come true. Whatever it is they're doing, whatever it is they're seeing and hearing is real. But somewhere, for some reason, that gets disconnected. So one of the things I like trying to do is encourage people to go inside and find those beliefs and really, really have that confidence that I'm going to be successful doing this. And I'm going to also help other people that realize that they can become that or more too. So searching anything, like my granddad always asks, he said, always ask questions. He said, there's no such thing as a stupid question. He says, if you really want an answer, he says, no matter what it sounds like, just keep asking it, because one day somebody's going to come along and give you that answer. So a lot of these things he taught me throughout my life, he would say over and over and over, he would repeat. And so it sort of programmed into my subconscious. So sometimes when I'm sitting, I think about my granddad, I reflect on things. And I remember some of the things he channeled to me that years later in my life, even after he passed on and when I was 17, they came true. He was able to see lots of things and give me answers. And he told me many things. And so just throughout my life, I always go back to that. I always go back to his teachings, because there was something in it that I knew had a truth to it. And nobody can take that from me, because I carry it in my heart. That's my belief. That's something that I've always held on to. And as a little child, one of the things I would always do is I would always talk to God. And always in my mind, I was always asking God questions and talking to God. And just strange little things would happen. And I never told people. I just carried that inside myself. And sometimes my granddad would be there and I'd go in and I'd share a little bit of it. Or sometimes he would pick up the energy and he'd see things and he'd have me sit down and explain to him what was going on, just so he knew I was on the right path and I wasn't going off doing a lot of silly things. So the biggest thing I love doing is seeing a person start their journey, no matter where they are. I used to go to sweat lodges a lot of times, and people would come to the sweat lodge and never been there before. And I'd see them walk into the sweat lodge and they'd start learning, and I'd see them beginning, they're opening that door to something mysterious. To me, I always call it the great mystery, because I don't understand all these things. The creator has made so many amazing things and created so many kinds of ways of connecting to the universe. There's so much knowledge, like astrology and numerology and so many ancient sciences, and that we're going back to that. We're trying to find the purity and the truth in it. And there's a lot of hidden answers, and we're going to discover them all. As we're doing that, we're also going to be bringing in a lot more newer stuff. So a lot of people are going to be channeling, and whatever they're channeling is, they got to really trust in it. They really have to believe what they are doing is going to impact and change the world in a really good way. But it's also believing of going through this confusing time, because there's things sometimes that are scary for people. So when something goes on in the world, it really impacts them and they get lost in it. They forget about their belief. They forget about their desires to do things that may bring joy into the world, or even believe that the children that are growing up now will be in the future, and they're the ones that are going to do so many amazing things and change this planet, whether you want to call it the age of Aquarius or enlightenment or whatever names are given to it. And like I say, you have to carry those beliefs, because you're going to get challenged. There's something going to test you on your belief and try to discourage and pull you away.
Good. Just you mentioned, your grandfather and the connection you have with him, and I think in these days, in these modern times, a lot of these, let's say, connection to our ancestors and our let's say passed on ancestors is getting more lost, I would say, and you know there's not much attention on it. But maybe you can talk about the importance of that. And I know, you know, you can see very often, you can see people's guides, and you can see, you know, the people who have passed on when you're sitting with a
Mm.
person, and you know it's easier for you maybe a little to have that strong connection with those forces. But just maybe to share my piece of experience with this is when I've started to open this communion up and then communication up with these my passed on relatives, that the strength of that connection and then the kind of help I'm receiving from those areas has been getting stronger. So maybe you can also, you know, speak a little to those areas.
One of the things, even though a culture is lost its ancient ways, there's a lot of books, there's a lot of knowledge recorded, there's a lot of legends and stories. It's investigating because a lot of things got buried, but the ancient truth is still there, and there's still people sometimes that carry some of this, and they're just people. And it was like me, a lot of times I didn't know where to find elders or teachers. Once I left my community, I moved to Edmonton, and it's a big city, and there's cultures of all kinds. And I'm like, I'm just curious. I want to learn lots. So I would ask the universe, well, I heard about this ceremony and I want to be able to go to one, but I don't know an elder or person who teaches this, or I don't know people that are doing this. So I would ask the universe, well, how can I end up connecting with this? So I would just ask them things, and then before I know it, somebody would say, hey, I'm going to this ceremony. You want to come along? I'm like, sure, why not? And I go to the ceremony, and there's an elder there, and he's teaching all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is the stuff I was asking about. And then the elder would meet me, and a lot of times is like, oh, yeah, come to my place and that. And then next thing I'm connected with this elder, and he's teaching me all kinds of stories, and he's taking me places and showing me all kinds of stuff. And sometimes we spend hours and hours where they just give me information, or they just start channeling and doing stuff. But for me, it's like from my dad's side, my dad was from Denmark, and his family was from Copenhagen, and his mother was pregnant with him when his whole family, grandfather and whole family, came to Canada, and they ended up in Edmonton, Northwest Territories, because the Northwest Territories was a lot further down. Alberta wasn't quite a province yet that went up further to the way it is now. And so through my mom, I found out that he was Danish. And like I say, I met him a few times. And then later in life, when I was around 30, like he left when I was 3. And so when I was around 30, I finally really got to meet him. And I learned more that he was Danish. So I started buying books on the Viking beliefs and their folklore and a lot of different things that they practiced. And so I didn't understand that part of my culture. My great grandfather, he came from Greenland. They couldn't say his name, so they just named him Greenland because they couldn't say his name. So he came from Greenland. They just gave him the name. So that's where my last name comes from. And he was with the Hudson Bay. I don't know what his original name was when he was in Greenland. So there's a lot of that Danish history from there. So the Scandinavian Viking stuff. And so I bought a lot of books on the legends, and I looked into runes, because runes they used and they would divine and look at stuff. And so I wanted to know that part of my culture, and just searching, looking, trying to understand things. And while I was in Edmonton, also, like I said, there's all kinds of stuff like Buddhism and things like that. And in my community, there was nothing like that. So I searched out all these different things, trying to find what this was, because one of the things was, while I was taken away as a child and put into residential school, the minister that ran the residential school, Mr. Holman, every Sunday we had to put on suits and ties and stuff, and we had to all march down to this place where they would have a Sunday, and he would be up there preaching, and he would be screaming at us and saying that because we were heathens, that no matter what we did on this planet, we would all burn in hell. And that really, really angered me. And I didn't stay in the residential school that long. I ran away. I hated the place. It was a prison, and a lot of things and circumstances caused me to run away. I didn't want to be there, and it was part of my survival. When I ended up living on the streets and learning and growing. But it always stuck with me how he would scream at us. And I remember on Sunday night how all the little children would be crying because they thought the devil was going to come and take them in the night into hell and just burn them. And they're just terrified because their parents aren't there. They had nobody to turn to get answers. And that really, really angered me. And I'm like, if there's such a thing as a creator or a God, why would he create a whole race just to have them come on this planet, grow up, and every time send them into a hell and just burn them? That made me very mad. So that made my desires to search for knowledge even more, like reading the Bible, reading whatever it is I could, because I wanted to prove he was wrong. I was so angry and mad for all the harm he was doing and the things that went on. Even when I was growing up later, how people committed suicide and were in and out of prison and all dysfunction and messed up in the head, and just so angry and confused. And so in my searching, I wanted answers. So like I say, I read many, many books. I spent many, many hours praying and trying to figure this out. Like, why would God create one race and just burn them? Like, didn't make any sense to me. And as my studies and my searching and reading and participating in many things, I started seeing how everything fits together. I mean, here I am nearly 60 years old and I'm still searching for answers. And everything is interconnected. All these ancient ways were practiced all over the world. I think at one time we were very enlightened, and I think we shared the knowledge with one another. And over time, we sort of separated and went into our own thing. But I think at one time there was a lot of this knowledge was shared, because from my understandings, even at Stonehenge, under there they had caves. They were sort of like sweat lodges, and they would go down in there and they would purify, like how us natives, we sweat all the time when we do vision quests or something. We go in a sweat lodge in the morning and we pray and we clean ourselves, and we go up and we sit on the mountain and we ask to see things. So we go inside and we ask to have a vision or something that is either going to help us or help other people. And we learn how to go in and trust that whatever we're being shown or whatever we're being guided to is going to help us and other people along the path. I tried lots of different kinds of practices. I sat in some temples and I tried sitting there going, oh, and in my mind, I would always see and hear things. So to me, that was normal. And I think a lot of people do this, but they say it's my imagination, my imagination, my imagination. Instead of going, well, maybe some of these things I'm being shown is real. And maybe some of this stuff I should pay attention to, or I should record, or find a way to recognize and see what this is, that inner voice, that inner knowing, whatever it is, and learning to also enjoying your own company, enjoying spending time reading, enjoying closing your eyes and just being with who you are, and not looking at your past. Because a lot of times we get too stuck in that. The world taught us how to stay stuck in our past, focus on our past, focus on our past, beat ourselves up, keep on beating ourselves up. We're not good enough. We're not Jesus. We're not this. Oh, we're not heavenly angels or anything. We'll just beat ourselves up. And it's hard to train our mind to, because when you're asking the universe something, the universe is going to try to show you something. And it's going to see if you're going to believe in it, because you're going to manifest and create it. Whatever is being shown, something is going to come through. And so it's not just imagination. There's lots of things, like even your thoughts. Sometimes there's all these really big, aha, amazing things the universe is trying to give to you, to realize that maybe you're going to create something, or you're going to have a business and you need this knowledge. And somehow you're going to discover and find all these things. So taking that time and sitting and recognizing this and trying to focus on the future is very hard, because everything on the planet wants to pull your mind into, oh yeah, well, they're going to have fight over here, this country's doing that over there, or there was a drought here, you know, there's different things going on the planet, or the sun is sending off big waves and it's going to blast this whole planet, you know, so many kinds of things trying to pull us away. So it's hard to learn how to put your mind on the future. When you're sitting with somebody and you're trying to help them, it's like, okay, they're here today. I don't see their past. I'm not really interested in it. But how can I help them here today to step into the future? So what is it I may see that I can sort of help them in some way that is going to bring some kind of change? So when it happens, they go, wow, this happened. This is what this person told me. Well, now I'm really curious. How did he do that? Why is he able to do that? So these kinds of questions, they start coming important. And I believe everybody has the ability to remote review. Whether you want to say prophecies like Nostradamus, he was able to see thousands of years into the future. He prophesies a lot of things that are going on the planet right now, and still his prophecies are coming true. If you can decipher them or find the right books, you will see what he was saying is still playing itself out. And the natives, we have elders, they call them visions. So the elders see things, they have visions. It's some kind of like a movie or something they saw that's going to happen in the future. All they know it's really important to share with people. So we call them visions. We don't call them prophecies. And learning how to see this and trust in it, because some things you might see, like I say, it can be 10, 15 years in the future, but it is a real thing, and somewhere it's going to happen, and the universe will prove to you that it's a real thing. So learning again, going in, believing and trusting in this stuff. So mediumship and all these other things is, some people came here to see the spirits on the other side, and their path is trying to not fear that, and trying to take that knowledge and sit with the spirits and go, okay, maybe I'm meant to sit with people and give them messages from their loved ones from the other side. And these messages are very important to bring peace, to bring happiness, to sometimes even make them realize that some of their relatives are actually like angels, and they're there looking out for them. And the more they connect with this, the more they will allow this in. And I always say, welcome into your home. They should always be in your home. They should be with you when you drive down the highway. They should be with you when you're at work. Wherever you are, they should be there. So if you need an answer, you can just quietly close your eyes for a second or so. And if they're there, they will help you to see, or whatever it is, however you learn to connect in that way. Some people don't have to close their eyes. You just sit quiet for a minute, and then things just shift. All of a sudden you see something, and then you shift back, and you just know whatever was there is the right thing, and it's for whatever to help people. So learning how to focus on the future, and more on this planet, people have to do that. How can I help this world? Can I channel something that's really important to change the planet? Maybe create a whole new kind of car that doesn't run on fossil fuels and doesn't harm the planet, or something that's going to benefit the planet. How do I grow things. If the weather changes in all kinds of ways, how do we keep growing things to feed one another? How do we support and help one another? These kinds of questions are really, really important. And if you carry them inside, the universe is going to give you the answer. Somewhere that's going to come to you. Somewhere you're going to be a messenger, whether you're a visionary, whether you're a prophet, whether you're a remote viewer, whether you're a medium, a psychic, a tarot reader, an astrologer, whatever it is, there's a message. Somewhere on this planet, we're all messengers, whether we're spiritually evolved or not, but somewhere we're all here trying to help one another. And so it's learning to trust that.
So just like basically, as I understand, start to ask these questions and, maybe even, dare to open yourself up to those communications. If let's say you're a listener out there and you're watching this video, the first step might be just to acknowledge that these ancestors of ours aren't really gone, anywhere, but they're with us and we can, step into communication with them.
Exactly. There's a set of books, Anastasia, and I read them years ago when they came out. And they talk about dolomites or dolems or something. They're like ancient caves where they would put the ancestors' bodies. And from what I understood from the book is if a person were to go there, the spirits are there. So some of the spirits will give you some of the ancient knowledge. It's like it just taps you into the ancient records. Like they say in some of the New Age beliefs, there are crystals on this planet from Atlantis and Lemuria and from other places, and they carry records. So if you get the right crystal and you're meant to have it, if you're sitting meditating, this crystal will download you with all this knowledge from the past. So there's places, and even Stonehenge, there's ancient things there that still have not opened up. It's not the time yet. You go to Peru, you go to other sacred places. There's spirits and energies there, and they have the knowledge and wisdom, and they can pass it on to whoever they see is going to help the planet. So everybody should just give themselves permission, love themselves enough to go, well, maybe I really can help this planet. Maybe I can really focus on the future. Maybe I can really discover something that is good. And if I believe in that, maybe it will open me up and start bringing me all these different kinds of people. Like whoever watches this video, somewhere they're going to receive something. And it's like, do you want to follow it forwards? Do you want to investigate those little curiosities you had since you were a child, or those different thoughts that came in every now and then? Do you want to find a group of meditators or energy workers or remote viewers that you can sit with, and you can become so confident with this gift that whatever you're doing, it's going to help people and things? And it's learning to trust in that. Um, Not really sure what more to say on that one. Yeah, and listen to people, like really use your ears. Listen to the exact words sometimes. My granddad was really bad to do that when I was a child. He would tell me things in a certain way and he would use words. And later on, a couple of days later, he said, "Remember that story I told you?" I'd be like, "Yep." He's like, "Okay, sit down now and tell me the story." And I had to tell him everything exactly the way he told me. And I had to use these certain words. And if I left something out, he would stop me and I'd have to go back and sit for a while, go in my memory and try to remember exactly how he told me and tell him until I got it right. If not, he would tell me the story over. And I had to really listen to everything because I knew somewhere, somehow he was going to ask me, and I had to be able to tell him exactly the way, and I couldn't leave anything out. So he taught me how to listen. And listening is really important because the more you learn to listen, the more you even discover about people. There's all kinds of stuff. I have learned throughout my life. There's body language. There's language of ways people speak. There's things that show. One of the things too I found with being spiritual is our energies are like TVs, and there's many, many, many layers, different kinds of layers, different kinds of things. And people project out things. They want people to see, they want people to know, but they won't tell you verbally. But if you have a gift and you're aware, all of a sudden you can see something about them. You're like, whoa, where did that come from? And it's like their TV turns on. All of a sudden you're seeing something. It's playing in your mind, and you go, oh, wow, man, my imagination is going whack today. But actually, it's not, because that person is like a radio or TV, and he's broadcasting something. And sometimes they're crying, or they're in their minds are like, help me, save me, please, somebody please come help me, save me, please, somebody with an answer. And so they're projecting out something, hoping somebody will see this or pick it up, and they will get some kind of answer or help from this individual. So we're always broadcasting things wherever our minds are. It's like our energy fields are open. So when you go to a psychic or tarot reader and they give you the deck and they're like, okay, focus on 3 questions, shuffle the card. When you're ready, put it down, cut it, and then they take it because your energy is infused there because you're thinking of these questions. So you're doing that, and then your energy field opens when they pick up the cards. It's like you open up this radio and you start broadcasting. So when they're turning over the cards, they just start receiving information. A lot of times it has nothing to do with the cards. They're just tuning into your frequency and stuff is going on. But they need the cards as a way of focusing. So they're focusing on your future by focusing on the cards, which is opening you up maybe to remote review or for your energy to broadcast to them so they can give you information. So a lot of people don't know this, and you'll see other people, they have psychometry, and you go to them, they'll say, well, I need an object from you, something that's personally yours, nobody's ever touched, or something you've had for a long time. You give it to them, they sit there and they close their eyes. They're holding this object and they start seeing everything about your life, but they're focusing on your future. They're focusing on something they can give you. They believe in what they're doing and they know what they see, and they're sharing information. They don't know when it's going to play out, but they're giving it to you because they feel it's important and somehow it's going to impact your life. Another thing people have to realize is when you go to a healer, a shaman, medicine man, a tarot reader, a psychometrist, or whoever, when you come to them, you're in a certain kind of energy. You're in a certain kind of thought. You're confused, you're lost, you're seeking an answer. So the psychic can say, oh yeah, I see you in 6 months, I see you going down this path, and something's going to happen. You're going to end up buying a car, and this and that's going to happen. And you're like, woohoo, yeah, something really amazing is going to happen. But you wake up tomorrow and you go, oh, that's all bullshit. I don't believe anything this person says. And so you get angry and you go down this path and you go in this different direction, and you've changed something. So whatever may have been coming, maybe you decided you weren't deserving of it, or you didn't want it, or there's something inside you you believe that changed that outcome. So whatever that was, maybe it moved into your future. The psychic didn't really lie to you, because every moment of the day, something can go on our minds that can change our path. So we can open up in a belief that can pull us down a whole different path than what somebody has seen today. And later on, maybe you'll go back on that path and you'll receive those things further down the road. But when you're seeing things, you can only share in the moment what is there. And depending on what that person is and what they believe and where they're trying to go, if it is the right thing and it really is on their time path, a lot of things will come true. And the person may come back and ask for more and learn more. And basically, they're curious now, and they need to realize sometimes they can do this. They can have little visions, little insights. Like I always tell people, when they come to our meditation, if you really want an answer to something, ask the universe. On Wednesday, I know I'm going to be at this meditation, so I'm really praying somebody in this meditation gives me this answer. You go there, you don't know, and you're sitting down, and there's all these different strangers, and they're all sitting there. Nobody knows who or what. and say the fifth person in the meditation starts channeling and saying something to you, and there's your answer, and you go, oh wow, I got my answer. Sometimes you get a whole bunch of answers. Sometimes you get little bits and pieces because it's still not ready to come through. And so these things, they keep you learning, they keep you curious. And curiosity is really important. That belief in growing and expanding and learning is something in here. And the more you desire it, the more you will attract these things that just help and benefit you and make those next steps into the future a little easier. And we all need teachers. We all need different people with different knowledge. And I love sitting with different people, and I always find it very beautiful. The things that get shared and the things that get discovered, and to see somebody growing and allowing this biggerness to come in is a very beautiful thing. Because I remember a lot of times those amazing ahas that went on, and nobody experienced it or felt it. It was only me inside. And all I can do is share those stories in one way or another at times when I remember them. But to me, that energy is still in there. It's still, when I'm back in those places, I still feel that excitement and that really amazing discovery when it came in, that energy is so strong. And those are very, very beautiful things when you end up in the right places. So I encourage everybody to just go inside and really find that belief or that desire that there is something there worth seeking out, because the world doesn't want you to know. The world doesn't want you to ever have the answer. Knowledge is really powerful. The more knowledge you have, the less reasons you have to be afraid. The knowledge also gives you the power to learn how to sit and confidently look into things, seek answers into the future, search out ancient prophecies and see them being fulfilled and not being afraid, because a prophecy or a vision or something is there to warn mankind. So you don't have to be in a place to be harmed. You can understand that maybe there's something happening here and I don't really want to be there at that time. So I choose to be somewhere else doing something. So all these things are there to benefit everybody. And the universe is never trying to scare us. We're in this human life on this planet at this moment. And for however long we're here breathing and walking, we're going to go through many things. And there's things going to go on all over the planet. Is I always tell people, ask the creator to be in the right place you're meant to be, to hold the energy, to do the biggest things for whoever's meant to come into your life, because you don't know who is there and when they're going to show up. And everybody should want to be able to share or channel or do something to benefit another person's life. So when you find these little tiny things or meet these people that open you up and help you discover something inside, follow it, see where it takes you. And if you sit in the Buddhist temple for a while and if it's not really working, it's okay to close the door and go and sit in a church, or go and sit with some Jews, or go and sit with somebody who's meditating, because you're going to learn to a point and then it's not going to help you. It's like that connection to the universe shuts down a little bit. So look for the next thing that's going to open it back up and bring in more things and connect you with more people and things. So just keep searching for it, because somewhere inside you're going to find it all and you're going to be happy and fulfill what your path is here.
You know, speaking of this, you also sit, you know, one-on-one or privately with people in your you know, energy healing session. And you know, from a personal experience, and having experienced these sessions, I've, you know, always come away, you know, very much lighter than I've entered, you know, our meeting, and I've found the answers, and I've found, you know, it's almost like I found the help, and it's almost like it's um you know, it's hard to exactly say what you do, you know, but it seems like something is leaving, you know, my consciousness, or my being that's not supposed to be there anymore. And I would like, my personal view is that's kind of like the energy healing, if you want to, you know, box it somehow. Do you have anything, maybe to add, or what goes on in an energy healing session, and how often would a person need? I know it's a difficult question to answer, but how often would a person need an energy healing
So
session?
I like calling it energy clearing because the universe removes things. From many, many, many lifetimes, we have so many kinds of things that are embedded in our life here today, and things are trying to pull us this way. And so when a person wants a energy clearing with me, is first thing I always want is permission from them and from their spirits or angelic beings or whatever, because those spirits are the ones that know who you are and where you're going and what your difficulties or what's being held from a past life that still needs to be healed or corrected. So when I'm given that permission, a lot of times I will say prayers before I actually sit with the person. And I always ask the spirits, well, come on in whatever needs to get corrected or balanced out. They will come in and do the work. And I always say I'm a conduit. So basically, I'm watching the TV and you're giving permission because you already told them this is what you want and they already are aware. And so I'm there and I'm doing things. But basically, it's your guides. They seem to come in stronger because you've made this contract with the universe when you decide to connect with me. And on a higher level, there's all these agreements. So whatever I have to do as a conduit is like a lot of times I will light my smudge and I use my eagle feather. And in my mind, they show me things that are going on or need to get corrected. But a lot of things is I ask the balanced person, because
Mm.
one of the biggest things is I think most everybody is learning about chakras. They're the energy vortexes are like nuclear reactors. They spin, and we have a whole bunch of them that are in alignment in the front and a whole bunch in the back. The back ones are the past lives. Any hurt you've had in this lifetime, say you were a little child, you did something bad and you got spanked. Well, that memory is still in your chakra in your past. Whatever you did in other lifetimes, because say you were a Roman in 700 AD or whatever, and you were in the army and you had to do all kinds of things because while you're in the army, you just have to, you have no choice. Or maybe you were a general and you forced your army to go into a town and just slaughter them all because you had that power to do it. So whatever these energies you're carrying, I never know what's going to come forwards or not. But the thing you have to understand too is when you're born, your front chakras are like tape recorders or like different computers. And at certain ages, you start turning those computers on. So when you're a baby, you probably are in the first three chakras for maybe the first 3 years. Then you start activating the other one. So you've turned the three computers on trying to learn how to be a human for the first 3 years as a child. And then you start discovering feelings, emotions, thoughts. You can think and you start learning mathematics and rudimentary stuff. You start learning more speech. You start realizing what your eyes are seeing. You start smelling and touching. And then all of a sudden you start seeing girls and boys. And all of a sudden you're a teenager and then an adult. So his chakras are like you turn on these different computers. You start getting up into the heart and the throat and the third eye and the crown chakra. They're up on these higher spiritual levels. So some people are in their heart chakra. So when you look at their auric field, you're going to see this beautiful greenish pink energy around them. Their whole auric field is because they're just really heart based and they came here to do heart kinds of energy to help this planet and help people, whatever it is they're going to bring in and do through their heart chakra. Other people is the throat chakra because you're a channeler, there's messages, there's teachings. So your energy will be more vibrating on that. Then your third eye has a certain color. So you're a seer, a visionary, and you're here to do things. So you will vibrate a lot higher, or your crown chakra, where like Jesus and Buddha and that, we're trying to help the whole planet. So they had this higher purple vibration universal energy. So while I'm doing the clearings, I'm trying to also ask for the chakras to balance, because they all have to turn. This chakra will turn this way, this one will turn this way, this one will go the opposite, the other one will turn. So when they're spinning all the right way, the energy swims over them, swims right to the crown chakra. If the back chakras are in balance, it'll swim back down, or if it's from the back up, whichever is your teachings and understandings, but the energy moves up to the crown and moves back down. And it's a life force. And when all the chakras are spinning right, the energy moves. This is where they say waking up the sleeping dragon or different things. And there's blocks in them for different reasons. There's times where the universe sealed them in this lifetime. Those seals are there and they're not meant to be broken for certain reasons. So I asked your guides, well, what is it can I do? Because for whatever reasons, we contracted this. So while I'm sitting here and I'm using the smoke and I'm asking your guides and spirits and that to do all these things, I'm trying to do this stuff in my mind. And then there's stories, and maybe there's a certain book you need to read, maybe Shaman Sage Healer, maybe it's a Dolores Cannon book, or Hands of Light, Light Emerging, Core Light, one of these kinds of books. And it will just pop into my mind. I will say it, and it's up to you to read and study and look at or not, because there's something in it they know it's going to help you, and it's going to lead you someplace. It's going to connect something, because reading that is going to change your energy. So every time you do something with spiritual knowledge, or you go and sit in something, somehow it changes your energy, and it's like a magnet. You just start attracting more of these things into your life. The more you desire it, the more these things are going to come towards you, the more that knowledge. And if you really desire ancient knowledge, ask the universe, where can I go to tap into this? If I already have these abilities, and if I have psychometry, can I go to Stonehenge and maybe place my hand on one of those rocks and see all the ancient ceremonies and what they did in the sacred place, and what is there that maybe needs to come into the world now so everybody can make use of it? So in my clearings, I do many, many different things. Like I say, I do a lot of talking. My partner, Cindy, sometimes writes down things. So she does the bullet points because it's really important. I used to not like recording it because people twist words. When sometimes I channel a message, they will focus on one word and they will twist what I said over and over and over until they believed, well, this is what I said. And I would meet the person later on and they'd say, remember when you told me this? I'm like, no, I didn't tell you that. This is what I told you. And they're like, no, 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 this is what you said. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I know exactly what I said to you. But they wanted it to be their way because they're afraid or whatever. So now I'm doing more of the recordings. I'm like, if they want to twist the words and that, then that's theirs. Because I usually try to say it the best way I can from the universe. And sometimes it might be a little distorted because maybe I need to sit with that person again and allow it to come through more clearer. So the next time they get it, they're ready and prepared for the knowledge. So in the clearings, like I say, it's your guides, it's your ancestors. It has to do with your future. It's not my decision where you go or what you do in this lifetime. So all I can do is honor your spirit guides, you, your life, and bring through whatever I can. At the same time, like I say, your angels take things and remove them because you're really trusting and wanting God to do this, or the angelic beings, or your oversoul, whatever you want to call the great mystery, or whatever belief system that you have inside. Because one of the things I learned in my life too is we all know God, and God inside ourselves, we all have that way, whether we use the word God or creator or great mystery. We all have something that means so much and deeper inside us. There's an energy beyond us that created everything, and it's a mystery. And there's worlds out there that have their connections and understand the creator from their points of view. So when you go into lots of cultures, there's confusions. I try to cut through that, and I try to give you as much as I can in a very short, limited time. And I'm not telling you how to live. I'm not telling you what to practice or believe. All I can do is be that conduit and be as clear and grounded as possible and hold a safe space for you, that your life is going to change and a lot more wonderful things are going to come, and your mind is going to expand, and many beautiful things can come, and it can keep growing, and you can attract your spiritual family and all these things. So somewhere in life you can look back and take this and maybe share that with people too.
Yeah, good. Thanks so much, Joe. You explaining this so, I don't know, in a detailed way makes me understand it better as well. And I hope our viewers, understand or get a better idea of what happens during the session. And if you want to get a session with Joe, I will link Joe's website down in the description. You can contact him directly. Do you have anything else to share?
I know you asked me specific questions, and when I'm channeling, there's a lot of stuff going through my mind. And sometimes I forget exactly what I was asked. And so I'm sorry if I didn't fully answer, but I'm sure in a lot of the things I say, you will find answers. I never try to really argue with the universe. I know once they start plugging in with me, things happen. People get very confused because a lot of times in my life, people are like, you know what, you're always talking in riddles, and you piss me off. It's so frustrating because everything you say is in riddles. And I'm like, I don't do that. It's whatever is coming through is really important for the person. And yeah, I don't know. After a while, people just start realizing that whatever I'm saying, eventually, whatever it is, they're going to take it apart and they're going to find their answer and truth. And it's all there. Like I say, if you really listen carefully, you will get a lot more sometimes than trying to use your mind to take everything apart and disprove things. So I apologize if there was some questions there that I didn't really answer. I plug in and I just sort of go off that, whatever is coming through.
I think you did perfectly, and there's a lot of good stuff and information here, and I hope your viewers, get a lot out of it. And if you feel called and pulled towards Joe, contact him and get a personal healing clearing session. Sorry, because I can personally vouch for the the integrity and help received during those sessions. So I urge everyone who at least has a tiny bit of curiosity to connect with Joe more. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to Joe, and we'll probably see and record more videos in the future. But thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Yeah, thank you too, Ian.